Hello and welcome to the Unique CPA with your host, Randy Crabtree. We're committed to creating a thriving community of accounting professionals who are physically and mentally healthy, fulfilled, and energized by their work. Our ultimate goal is to elevate the reputation of the accounting profession and vastly improve the lives of those in it. The Unique CPA is brought to you by Trimerit, the specialty tax professionals.
Today, our guest is John Pace. John is partner and director of outsourced accounting and advisory services for GRF CPAs out of the East Coast. Was it Bethesda? Is that where you are, John?
Yeah, Bethesda, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C.
All right, just outside of Washington, D.C. Okay, John and I had talked about him being a guest on the show last summer. And then as I've been stalking him on the internet, just saw recently that he was named by CPA.com as the 22 Digital CPA Innovation Practitioner of the Year, which is pretty cool. I knew a handful of people that were up for that, and when I saw John, I go, "That's awesome!" And then he won, which is pretty cool. That award recognizes individuals. This is going to be important because these are some of the things we'll talk about today. That it'll recognize individuals who are driving the accounting profession forward, which I think is huge, through innovative thought leadership, processes, services, technology, and technology implementation. I guess before we go any further, John, welcome to the Unique CPA.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here. Always fun to chat with you. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. I got the pleasure of introducing you at an event over the summer, which is always one of my personal highlights. I love introducing people.
Yeah.
And that's when you and I think, first started talking about this. So first off, congrats on the award. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it was an amazing honor. I'm still not sure I really believe it, but I got to give all credit in the world to my team for helping me get there and helping us get there. So it's pretty much a surreal time because I was there in person in December to get that award as well.
I was actually in Austin at the same time, but I wasn't at the event, although I did walk through the hall. So I did not get to see you get the award, but I did immediately hear about it on Twitter or LinkedIn or somewhere. So
you were there in spirit.
I was definitely there in spirit. So that was pretty cool. Let's see, what are there? I don't even know. 1.5 million CPAs in the country, and you're the number one innovative CPA. That's pretty cool.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I hadn't really quite thought of it like that.
Yeah. So you got that.
Maybe I just have a lot of friends. I don't know that voted.
Well, that could be too. You are a likable guy, so I could see that. All right, so let's jump into a few things. We can go all over because it's so interesting to talk to you, but let's jump into a few things. I mentioned first where you're a partner at is GRF out of DC area. And, Jackie Cardello, your managing partner, was on this show before, and Jackie and I had a great conversation. And you seem to be a pretty progressive firm, the way you look at things overall, from DEI just to, how your corporate culture is. We can go into any subject we want, but first, I just want to talk about your outsourced advisory, or I assume you call it CAS. Do you call it CAS, CAAS? How do you define client accounting services or advisory services?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, when I'm talking to someone that it's a quick conversation, it's just easier for me to refer to CAS. We call ourselves, it's a mouthful. I totally get it. We call ourselves Outsourced Accounting and Advisory Services, or OAAS. See, I almost butchered it, when I told you. So that's how we call it because we work with a lot of the industry's talked about advisory for a long time. Two of the big niches that we support are nonprofits and government contractors. And I think we found at least I feel that over at least my 18 years here in counting that, the advisory side has just sort of been built into what we've done from day one, just because of the nature of the compliance heavy. And there's just lots of stuff to figure out for those niches. So we wanted to make sure we got that advisory baked into the name.
So when you're talking, now this is a new one on me, OAAS, do I have that right?
Yeah.
All right. I like it though.
Yeah.
Are we talking just the accounting side, or is tax play into this, or is that a separate unit?
Yeah, so for GRF, we're definitely structured departmentally. So we're full full service accounting firm. So we've got our audit, tax, and we're so specialized in the nonprofit world. We actually have two tax departments. We have one that deals only with exempt orgs, and then your traditional kind of more for profit, individual estates and trusts and things, corporations. And then you have us, and then we also have an awesome risk advisory services, and we also have an accounting technology solutions. So we've got a bunch of divisions, and we all work together. So when I need tax help for our clients, when we need tax help, we reach out to the respective department, whichever one it is.
Okay. So advisory in the OAAS is accounting advisory, more financial statement advisory.
Yeah, definitely.
Got it. Okay. Just to get that. So while we're on this subject, why don't we dig into this further then? Because this is always intriguing to me, just how people are integrating, and you guys have been doing it for a while, but well, I guess that's the first question then.
Yeah.
When did this become a separate unit within the firm?
Oh, interesting. So when I started in 2005, it was actually already a separate unit, but it was, it was obviously different. Some of the technology hadn't come around yet in 2005. And so we were a department, this was a little bit before Sarbanes-Oxley and Enron and all that stuff happened, but we were a department that, basically we would do outsourced accounting. So we would go to clients, we would, help them close their books. Quite often it was just sort of end of month as opposed to kind of like ongoing. But we would also do kind of anything else in the firm that the other departments didn't do. So it was almost a jack of all trades. But I call them technology revolutions instead of evolutions. I think to me it started with QuickBooks, the accountant's copy file in QuickBooks Desktop, and then it was QBO, and then it was Bill.com. And each of those revolutions allowed us to kind of take our business up a notch and further develop it. So we've had it all along, but I'd say maybe sometime starting in 2015, 16, it really started to kind of turn.
And when did you become the head of this group?
So I became a partner with GRF in 2016 in January, and then I took over as department head in, I think, May, or it was the spring of 2017. So I had 1 year before, I had 1 year being a partner before I took over. It was fun.
And when you did, so that sounds like pretty much the evolution of at least this separate entity, more structured. How did you change things when you took over that role?
So I think one of the first things that we did was we actually changed the name. So like back in those days, it used to be called the Client Services Department. And I think it was kind of funny because we were, it's a pretty generic name, as you can tell. We did great work. But I remember one time trying to place an ad for someone, and the recruiter could have used a little help. But basically, we got a bunch of folks that were like looking to do, exactly what you'd think, phone calls,
right,
customer support. And we're like, all right, we got to change this name, guys. So first thing we did was you change the name. I had two great other partners, or Eleanor was almost a partner at that time. But I mean, we quickly put our heads together, and I think, we started, we reached out to CPA.com. I think we became a Sage Intact partner in 2017 and 2018. We made some great hires. So we really invested in building our team. Man, the work just came,
Wow.
So I'm a big believer in you get the right people, you treat them right, and it shows down to your clients and the work that you do. And it just took off.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that, because you just mentioned you got some good hires and good people, because that's one of the biggest issues in, profession, or in a lot of professions actually, but our profession for sure is getting and retaining people. And it sounds like you haven't had that problem. Why don't you explain why, if that is true? And I'm guessing it revolves around corporate culture somewhat as well too.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. And we've, I always knock on wood when I say this, we have not had a lot the issues that other firms have had. And, first of all, you have to give credit to the executive leadership of the firm, because there's a couple of ways that you can build culture, and none of them work if you don't, if you have other leaders in your firm, barking at you and saying, hey, why aren't your people working overtime, or why is your utilization at certain or whatever? So, but basically, we come at it from a people first approach. So, So there's a couple of parts of that. We want to take and retain good clients. We want our clients, and I'm very, very frank. I know you're shocked. I have frank conversations with prospects, and we tell them from the drop, like we want to be a partner with you. We want to build your success, and we want to build our success. We're not super interested in being a vendor with you. I mean, if you want to pay us a lot to be a vendor, okay, that's fine, whatever. We'll take it, But, we're mostly interested in being a partner with you. And, I'm very clear that we'll treat you with respect. That's what we expect. And honestly, I rarely have to say that, but I think our prospects appreciate it. So that's step one, right? Step one is like making sure your clients know that your people are your most valuable asset.
Yep.
And especially in the nonprofit industry, they want to hear that you care about your people, and that you take good care of them, because a lot of these nonprofits, that's part of what their mission is,
right?
So we can immediately have alignment. But the other thing too is the thing that's sort of crazy in this, and our outsourcing group is part of a traditional CPA firm, right? So that's one of the things you hear a lot about. We've had really no struggles with that, and we hire people. We basically guarantee them quality of life. We don't necessarily guarantee 40 hours a week, but typically we're saying we expect you to work 40 to 45 hours a week. There are times when you might have to step up and help your team. But like if you start to get piled on, you need to let us know, and we'll communicate. Let's communicate and let's get it fixed. We don't share staff with other departments, right? So all we do is outsourced accounting and advisory. So we don't get pulled into audit or tax for busy season. So we're able to offer like a steady Eddie sort of 52 weeks a year. We have to stick to our guns on that work-life balance, and that is it. And if you can do that, then what we've found is that our people, quote unquote, tell their friends,
right?
And they tell their family. We found this great place, and we've interviewed so many people that have basically said, "Where's the catch? I don't believe you. Why aren't there hours goals or utilization targets in my offer letter? We don't do that."
Right.
So
what about, so you said, hours, you're trying to stick 40, 45. I mean, I assume, is the seasonality of your group less than like, say, tax or something, or you have seasonality?
I'd say I don't think we have a little bit of seasonality. I mean, January is tough with extra the 1099s, believe it or not, which
Okay.
drives me crazy because it's I won't say any further on that.
You
But
can.
It's a lot of work for not a lot of value, and
Right.
so nobody appreciates 1099s, but yet they have to be done, right?
Right.
So 1099s, we've worked to streamline those processes. It's not perfect, right? But so 1099s is a little adds a little pressure, but once January comes and that's gone. But then what it's replaced by is, with a big nonprofit client base, a lot of our clients are audited. So, we need to make sure that we're buttoned up and ready to go for audit.
Right.
And, we do a great job month in, month out, closing those books solidly. But, audit time, it's always crunch time.
Right. Right. So maybe there's a little more time, but
Yeah.
you stress, which I love, the fact that we want this work-life balance. So
Yeah.
let's talk more culture then. What do you do? How do you make people feel comfortable? How do people feel comfortable that they can be themselves?
Yeah.
What's the cultural things that you feel you guys work on really well?
Yeah, for sure. So, I think for me, like my own career journey, it took me a long, long time. Even some places open as GRF, and it's just like GRF it is an awesome culture, and it always has from day one that I came here. But I think it took me a long time to feel confident in my own skin. Confident without being cocky. But I think what I've come to realize is it's our responsibility as leaders to create a workplace. Like we got to be fair to our employees, be fair to we have a responsibility. Those who are fortunate enough to be in the leadership role have a responsibility to give back to our community. And I'm not just saying that. I really do believe it. We have a responsibility to give the people that work for us a quality of life. I would never want to go home at night thinking I'm working my people to death. It's not what I want to do. But a key to our success is basically, encouraging authenticity. Be yourself, be who you are. I think you're happier, more adjusted if you can come to work and be yourself. And like, just think about like 15, 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, people had to hide who they are when they come to work.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's hair, clothes, dress, whatever it is. I just believe that if you can be yourself around your teammates, you're going to be happier. And if you're happier, the clients are happy.
Right.
So
I don't know if I asked you this before. Do you know John Garrett? What's your hand? All right.
Yeah.
So John has anybody who listens to this show knows I talk about John all the time. So we're going to go on another John Garrett rant here for a second.
That's good.
But John has statistics. Obviously, he's done his own studies, but this is, I think, something where he's done research. But it basically says that, I think there was a couple things. 93% of everybody has an outside of work passion, which I'm a little concerned about those 7% that don't. But 93%. So most people do. Most people have something besides work that they love to do. And also his statistics say, and I think it is like 97% of people who have 3 close friends at work are happier with their lives. And so if you allow people to share their passions, be themselves at work, like you're saying, not hide who you were, which probably wasn't that long ago that you did, like you said. And these 97, I might have the number wrong, but it's high 90s, are more satisfied with their lives, which means obviously they're more satisfied with their work as well. I think I love that statistic.
Yeah.
I love being able to allow people to bring themselves to work. You told a story once, and I don't know if you want, I might have this wrong, but you were talking, I think, about that, hiding yourself. And was there a tattoo involved, or was that a story of somebody? What was that? I can't remember.
There's a bunch of funny stories there. But before I get there though, like I think I will give you some concrete answers, like, some of the concrete answers about how you actually create a culture. I think it's not a soft, or fake, thing to say that it starts at the top, and we as leaders have to be approachable. Like if you say one thing, but then you're a grumpy person around the office, or people are scared of you, you're toast. They don't believe you, know? So you need to be someone, even if you think you're the most important partner in the whole firm, you need to be approachable by your team. So that's one concrete way. And it's hard. We all get busy, right? So there's that. So the funny story.
Before we go off of that, let's go back to that for a second. Then we'll go to the funny story. So you have to be, and I think what you just used, the word was approachable.
Yeah.
So how do we define that? So one thing I say, and I think it probably falls in this, I think as a leader too, being vulnerable is one of the biggest things you can do. Be open to share, whatever it is, personal story that is going to help somebody. So what do you think approachability is for a leader?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm just sort of jotting down a couple of books that I've read. One not so recently, and one recently that are not new books. But I totally agree with you. Like being vulnerable, because let's face it, like partners, executives, whatever you are, executive director, anything, you have an aura about you, and I am stunned at how many leaders forget what it's like to be a newer professional and going into that CEO's office or whatever it is, and the fear that that you might have as that person, it's palpable for sure. So for a leader to be vulnerable and to kind of like try to break down those walls is so powerful. And I couldn't agree with you more. And so I really enjoyed the book, The Heart-Led Leader, and also the book by Patrick Lencioni called Getting Naked, which is really about being vulnerable and not being afraid to ask dumb questions and things like that. And I think that is a huge, when I read that Getting Naked book, and I will totally admit that I should have read it 5 years ago, but like I felt like, geez, this is the way that I have sort of modeled my career, just trying to be open and vulnerable with people. Anyway.
I think that's awesome. So what was the other book? Getting Naked and
The Heart-Led Leader, I cannot remember who wrote it, but I'm sure we can find it and drop it in the comments.
Yes, we can, for sure. So I again, if anybody's ever listened to the show, they've heard me say, I don't really read business books. I haven't done it, or even personal growth books, other than John's John Garrett's What You're In. I am currently listening to The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
loving that. I'm
No
loving
shit.
that book. And now it's starting to make me think, okay, reading these business type, books doesn't have to be boring, apparently.
No, and it's interesting that you say that because these two books are what they call like business fables or parables, and so they're written. You can blow through. I mean, they're like 250 pages, maybe, or 200.
Yeah.
You could literally read it in a night or two. It's not a textbook. It's told, in a story framework. It's told from the both of them are basically like this is this person's fictional experience in a firm,
Right.
and it's based on real events, and it's just been tweaked, of course. And so, for anyone that has ever worked in a professional service firm or has any interest whatsoever, it's a super easy read. That's the great part.
All right. Well, I'm going to look at those then too. All right. So then, funny story.
Yeah, funny story. So, like, just talking about the whole professional workplace, I'm 47 years old. I started, who knows, you can do the math when I started at GRF, but like it was still a little bit of the olden days. We had to wear button down shirts. We couldn't wear hoodies to work, right? We couldn't wear high tops to work, So, and like, it's funny. I think I got my first tattoo when I was probably 40 years old, 40 or 41 years old.
Okay.
And it was pretty funny. I had my parents in my ear kind of listening to me like, you're never going to get a job, and I'm like, geez, I'm a partner at a CPA firm and a department head. I think I can get my first tattoo. What do you guys think? I got them on my legs in places that you can't see, so I can easily hide them and be a chameleon if I need to. But it was really funny because like GRF would do summer picnics and we could do all kinds of stuff like that, right? So like I really shied away from like wearing shorts in the summer. I would wear like pants or something because like one of my mentors, David Grayling, who's an awesome partner, former managing partner of GRF, just retired. Like I was like, I thought he was going to be disappointed in me, right? Like he was like my dad, and I love him so much, And it was pretty funny. I think it literally took till, I'll be honest with you, I think it took till last May when we had our first in-person retreat after the pandemic,
right?
And we were at a nice hotel or something with the partners and the managers, and I was like, forget it, I'm wearing shorts. So then I get paraded around a little bit, and they're like, "Hey, look, but it wasn't as bad as I thought, right? Like there was like most people are like, oh, okay, whatever, what's the big deal? So that was a pretty funny story. So I just sort of like, in my mind, it spun out of control that I didn't want David, my dad, to see it, my work dad to see it.
Your work dad, yep.
But David, my work dad, would not have even cared, I don't think.
No, and goes back to that culture then, being yourself, not hiding. The tattoos are part of you, not hiding that and being open. It sounds like you guys have that culture.
Yeah.
Other than being paraded around a little.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny. Like I got dragged. Like I think actually Eleanor, one of our awesome partners in OAS, she dragged me over to Jackie and she said, "Look," So it was pretty funny.
All right. And there other corporate culture? I mean, do you guys do get together as a team? Do you do retreat? You did mention retreats. Is there other things you feel adds to that culture?
Yeah, I mean, we work on a ton of different fronts. We have a DEI initiative. We have employee engagement initiatives where the employees without partners are there to help kind of change or not change, but work on the culture of the firm and try to make this their firm because we really do believe this is their firm, right? And so there's those aspects, from our, we have staff meetings, we have virtual meetings, we try to have fun, we have family picnics, we have holiday parties, we close between Christmas and New Year's now. We made that official 2 years in a row.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I can't tell you how much, for me, I've always thought that was wasted time during that week. And, people's minds are obviously elsewhere. Let's just close the firm. And of course, the result was obvious and immediate. Our team members absolutely loved it. And, they're super thankful to be at GRF because we do that type of stuff. We do have, we're very active users of like, Zoom and Teams and in the chats that are part of that. And we try to built a little community around, kind of the messaging and having a little bit of fun with our coworkers. Mm-hmm. Try to create some levity during the day, try to create some laughter, And accountants are like, everybody's got a different personality. You got a big range. So some people participate more than others, but I think it at least shows our folks that, hey, we're real people. We spend a lot of time with each other, and we can laugh.
Yeah, it's that honestly, that week between Christmas and New Year's, I've seen more and more firms, not a ton, but starting to do that. I know Jennifer Wilson, I think, has talked
Yep.
about that quite a bit, and
Yep.
I think they do that. But my wife's work does that. She's not in public accounting, but they do that. But yeah, like you said, it's wasted time. And boy, the benefits I'm sure you get from that from the employees is
Yeah.
probably amazing.
Totally.
One of the other things, because I want to go backwards a little bit,
Yeah.
because you talked about onboarding clients and having discussions, and this is what we expect, and this is how we work with you, and we want to be your team member and help you grow and all this. When you don't have the clients that you want, you brought in somebody that's not a complete fit. I assume, maybe you guys do such a great job up front that this doesn't happen, but I assume there is certain clients that you have to say, okay, we're no longer a fit for you. Is that a common? Do you have on an annual basis, quarterly basis? Do you look at that and see
Yeah,
where you need to go?
we do. I mean, we look at that two ways. Last year, we actually built it in 2022. I mean, we built it into our partner goals that everybody at least has to evaluate all their clients. Every department has a different level of workload, and it could be that certain departments, like, you absolutely have to cut clients, right? It could be the case. We weren't exactly at that point where we weren't drowning, right? Because of just because we're differently structured. But we did undertake that analysis. Pretty fortunate that our client mix has been pretty great to us, and
Nice.
but we have a client ranking worksheet. We update it regularly, and we've taken steps. I prefer to be short and sweet, to be honest with you. When it comes to terminating clients, it's like, hey, you don't have to explain a lot. I also learned that from David Grayling. It's the David
Nice.
method. It's just short and sweet. We're no longer a fit, and we wish you the best of luck and stuff like that. So we definitely do that. And so that's the normal evaluation. Obviously my actions start to change, and I take quicker action if our staff were to come to me in tears and say this client was disrespectful to me.
Right.
We'll have to reach out and kind of figure out, okay, what happened and how do we make sure that it doesn't happen again. And then, depending on the severity of the situation, I might actually have to say, thank goodness I haven't had to say this, but, like, I have not had to say, hey, if that happens again, that's going to be the end of our relationship.
Right.
I've not had to do that, but I'm sure it will happen sometime.
Yeah, that I think that's important, because that goes to their culture too, especially. And it's nice that you haven't had to, but man, your staff will be so appreciative if there is that person that has brought to tears because of a client's rudeness or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things you can do like that to show the people you work with that they're important, as you said, they're the most important part of what you do, which is awesome.
Yep.
Another thing that you and I talked about, which I think may play into this a little bit, is a couple things, but it sounds like these two go together. Is you as a leader, it's important to be working on the business rather than creating this environment and client base. But tying into that too, because this is a huge subject I love talking about as well, is billable hours. So let's just talk about working on the business, and then tell us how you deal with billing. Is there 3 tiers? Is there billable hours? Is there value? How do you work on that?
Yeah, for sure. So
huge question.
Yeah, huge question. So I actually we don't give our outsourcing staff billable hour targets. I've always thought that that's my problem. If I hire people and I don't have the work for them, that's my problem. I mean, tossing aside any performance issues or something like that, that's another story. But let all things being equal, and you've got decent quality staff, their utilization and billable hours is a function of what we give them. I'm probably simplifying it in some situations, but that's what I believe primarily.
So then, how do you? Is there a fixed fee for each engagement, or how do you set fees with clients?
They still charge their hours at this point. I mean, I think I would like to investigate getting rid of the timesheet. I still think we're a couple years away, maybe 2 or 3 years away. Don't quote me on that, but like, I mean, I guess you will quote me on that. But
yeah, this is just so you know, other people are going to hear this. This isn't just you and me.
Yeah, I think I think we're probably a couple of years away. I mean, I think we could be, we could be one of the first departments in GRF to do that if there's appetite for that. But so yeah, the team still uses the timesheets. We bill a lot on a fixed monthly fee. We have some stuff that's hourly on a fixed fee. If we have items that are out of scope, I mean, honestly, we just bill that hourly because it's easier. I mean, we've goofed around a little bit with saying, okay, well, let's do that on a unit basis. So if it's like one extra one extra employee, it's an extra X dollars a month. I found that hard to navigate, but like I know some folks listening may do a great job at that, like unitizing their services. We haven't done that.
Have you looked at or heard of Ron Baker's new book, Time's Up?
Yeah.
I mean, did you have a copy?
No, I haven't got it yet. But it's funny. I just saw him speak at Digital CPA, and it was pretty funny. I loved when he was up on that stage and he was talking about subscriptions and he was talking about waiting in line for that hotel. And I love the feistiness in him because he was like,
"Oh yeah,
you made me
gets worked up.
Time. You've wasted my time." And I was like, yes, this guy is so awesome, you know, because he expressed what all of us feel in that moment, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have seen him speak multiple times. He's been on the podcast at least twice. He was on our virtual conference this year. He was one of the main speakers there, and I just love hearing him speak. And he gets people thinking. He gets people. He's a change agent, I guess. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then how about you personally running this practice and working on the business? Although it sounds like you work in the business as well. You have what, $3.5 million of book that you work on?
Yeah, for sure. So a couple thoughts I have on it depends a little bit on who you are and what you do, but and I know there's different types of partners, but for me, I've always been skeptical of the concept of minimum billable hour targets for partners. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy in the world, so take it for what it's worth. But at the end of the day, our job is to make the organization better and to get work for other people. I mean, the hours that I work are absolutely irrelevant. My job is to make sure that I'm replaceable, that my team is here and they're ready and, we're good to go. So, and I believe in we have to run this like a business, but we also have to be open to new ideas. We have to be willing to try and fail stuff. And to do that, you have to spend admin time. If I'm spending all my time, ticking and tying, that is a terrible use of my time.
Right.
And there was another thing I was going to say, but I think I forgot. I got on a tirade there.
So I get on my soapbox or I rant. So you were doing one of those too. So
totally. Yeah. The other key thing, how I manage that book of business. Yeah. It's basically leverage. I would be dead without leverage. We have a lot of really talented team members and I rely on them. And it works. It's a symbiotic, relationship. It works because it allows me to do more, but allows us to grow. But it also empowers them. They feel like they don't have to come to me for every little decision. Yep. They know I'm here to help them. But at the end of the day, they can try it. They can do whatever they need to do, and it empowers them. And it empowers them to get better, to try. They learn, and so the cycle just seems to work.
Yep. That makes sense. Creating as you said, a sustainable practice.
Right.
You're important, but if something were to happen, it can continue on without you.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Any final things that we haven't touched on that you'd like to before I ask you two final questions?
Yeah. I think I told you when we talked one time. I try to think about like the approachability thing, and what I've come to the conclusion that the fact that when I was like 15 years old or something, my mom dragged my lazy little butt up to the local grocery store and said, "Give this loser a job." Um, uh, I'm pretty sure that was transformational for me. And a shy little kid from the suburbs being tossed into a grocery store, with a bunch of different people from all backgrounds and stuff. And, I'll just never forget the first day I started and someone said good morning to me. And typical shy kid, I didn't know what to say. So I said nothing. And she called me right out, "You're not going to say good morning to me?" And I was like, "Oh gosh." So that was one of the first sort of lessons that I got. And it took a long time to kind of sink in, but it's like communicating with people, all people, I feel like working at a grocery store, and I loved every second of that, by the way. I
Did
feel
you?
like if I retired tomorrow, I think I would probably walk right up to the local giant grocery store that we have here and be like, "Hey, find some place for me to work."
Yeah.
I loved it. So
Nice.
so
That's
anyway.
what my godfather did. He retired very early. I think he was mid-40s or something.
Mhm.
And then, as a retirement job, started working at a grocery store in the vegetable department and loved it.
Yeah, I think I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He
So
definitely did. And he's now been in Florida, retired for many, many years. But,
nice.
yep. All right. So the two final questions. The last one we'll talk about contact information. But before that, this is not because I'm a big fan of John Garrett, but I always feel like I'm stealing John Garrett every time I ask this question.
Sure.
And damn you, John Garrett. I asked this question before I met you, but I love John. He's great.
Yeah.
What is your outside of work passion when you're not running the OAAS? I can't say it. OAAS practice.
Yeah.
What are your passions outside of work?
Yeah. So some would say I have too many.
Yeah,
So
you can't have too many.
yeah, a couple things, and they sort of come and go, right? A little bit. Um, I'm huge into music. I love guitars. I love guitar amps, specifically electric guitars and amps and stuff. I love the noise they make. I wear earplugs to protect my hearing and stuff, but like I just love feeling the crank that guitar amp up and like the speakers move air and it hits your chest and stuff, and it's
Wow.
so like that's pretty cool. So I love that stuff. It causes me to buy guitars and amps at an obscene rate, and I swear I'm better now. I've gone to rehab with shopping, so that's one thing. Guitars and amps. I love like sort of winter sports like skiing and snowboarding and stuff. It just like to me, it is one of the few things that actually relaxes me. Is I know you all can tell I'm a super relaxed guy. So being out on the mountain and like just feeling that, I love that. And so I love skiing and snowboarding. I'm mediocre at both. So and I've also, for a long time, I started playing adult league ice hockey as an adult after college. So
Wow.
I've been doing that for a long time too. So those are some of the stuff that I love to do. I have a nearly 6-year-old son who's awesome. So I love spending time with him and stuff like that. So I think that probably covers it.
Well, you brought up your son, and he has a unique name, if I remember. What's your
He
son's
does have a
name?
unique name. His name is Wolf. So that is his middle name. It was not my idea. It was my wife's idea. His name is James Wolf, and we wanted to give him a cool middle name. But his name is pretty cool because his first name James. I think Randy, you may remember this. He is named after James Hetfield of the band Metallica, which is my favorite band of all time. Typical CPA, I know. I know that you're all thinking, right? So my son is
Exactly.
named after James Hetfield, the legendary rhythm guitar player and singer of Metallica, and Wolf is his middle name, and it's not short for Wolfgang. It's just Wolf.
Just Wolf.
Yeah.
And does he go by James or Wolf?
So it's funny. He mostly goes by Wolf, but when he dresses, he's in a police phase right now. So he dresses up in a police uniform, 6 years old, and he goes by Officer James at that point. So.
That's awesome.
It's so
That's awesome. Well, say hi to Officer James for me.
Oh, I will. He's a character.
Yeah. Then that leads to one more question: is Metallica then your what you're playing on the guitar, or what's
Pretty
your
much.
style?
Yeah, I try. I don't play as much as I should. I have more time to. I do more shopping than I do playing. And practicing. But yeah, that's mostly what I'm playing is like little hodgepodge, like Metallica riffs and other stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, John, I'm thrilled we did this. It was awesome. I appreciate all the information that you were able to share. I think people can learn a lot from just the culture you guys have, how you look at the business, and how you built this nice outsourcing OAAS.
You got
I feel
it.
like a mechanic when I say it. OAAS. Got it. I'll get there. It'll flow eventually. But again, John, thanks for being on the Unique CPA.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was a blast.
Thank you for joining us today on the Unique CPA. You can find the show notes for today's episode and learn more about TriMerit at theuniquecpa.com. Remember to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating on your favorite podcasting app. And join us next time for more expertise and insights on the Unique CPA. Professionalproductions.net